Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. So we're on episode 18 of My Hero Academia, The Unforgiven. Oh, I love this storyline in the series, in the manga. It's one of my favorites, and without giving any manga spoilers away, I really like this because it's really a complex and complicated situation. There's really no one at fault amongst the Todoroki children. Like, Natsu is justified in what he believes and why he doesn't want to forgive Endeavor. Shoto is justified in trying to work towards a path of reconciling with his father. And Fuyumi's not at fault either. She's justified in wanting them all to be a big family. And some of you have commented in the last episode, and I really liked that Endeavor's not trying to deny anything. He's not trying to say that it wasn't his fault. He's like, yep, I know what I've done, and it's probably unforgivable. And I just need to work towards atonement. And I like that Endeavor's realizing that I want my family to be happy, but basically because of what I've done, I may not have to be there for them to be happy. And so I like that Endeavor as a character, he's complex and complicated, and he's self-aware of what's happened in the past. Because some characters, in other anime series would double down and just be like, no, it's not my fault. And Endeavor's like, nah, it is. So, but I have been so excited for this episode. It's the middle of the day, and I'm just now getting to where I can watch it. But I'm so excited. So let's do this, shall we? We are going to start the reaction here of The Unforgiven here in 5, 4, and then 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh, I got freaked out a little bit at that preview there at the end, because it's a manga spoiler, so I can't go into any more detail without spoiling. So y'all will just have to wait until the next episode for that. And I just found out. I paused the video and the reaction to go look at to read the manga for the spoiler reaction, and I realized that next weekend there is not an episode. We're going to skip a week, and then, what a tease! What a tease! We're going to have to wait till a week from now, or 2 weeks from now to find out. What a tease, indeed. So I'll have to put something else on here in its place on Fridays, but that's okay. That's all right. But in any case, this whole storyline, I was really looking forward to this episode, and this has probably been my favorite episode of the season so far. The Unforgiven, and there's so much going on, and they really did an amazing job of animating Endeavor in this. Like, Endeavor's facial expressions, without spoiling anything, they go above and beyond the manga. Like, they really hammer home just what his family means to him, and it's so tragic because he does care about his family. Endeavor does care about his family, but he's had so much issues in the past with his anger management, with his obsession with All Might, and just the deterioration of his family as he's tried to be the number one hero, that it's just completely deteriorated and destroyed so much that now he's trying to show his family that he cares, but it's like the damage has been done. I think with Natsu, especially in this episode, it's very clear that the damage is done. You can't go back on that, and I think by the end of the episode, when Natsu's expression at the end of the episode looks so heartbroken, because Natsu, he looks guilty in a way at the end of the episode, but he also looks like he knows as well as Endeavor knows that for Natsu it's never going to be enough. Endeavor can say he's sorry all he wants, and he can try to make amends, but for Natsu, that damage is so internalized and it's so visceral to him that he's like, I don't want to forgive you, and I want to do my siblings right. He's like, but I don't know how else to move forward. And so I think he feels guilty. He looks guilty in that last section of the episode because he wants Fuyumi and Shoto to be happy. And I'm sure that expression that Natsu had at the end of the episode was a Endeavor's not going to live with us mainly because of me expression. Like, that's what it seemed like. It seemed like Natsu was putting all of the burden on his shoulders, which isn't fair. Endeavor's the reason why they're like that. Endeavor's actions are what has caused the family to break down and break apart. So it's really not fair for Natsu to be sad or feel guilty about it because it's not his fault. Natsu has every right to say that he won't forgive Endeavor. He has every right to say, as a victim, that he can't be around Endeavor because Natsu's tried. Fuyumi's had multiple chances for them all to be together as a family, and for Natsu, it's just not working. He's like, I just can't do it. He's like, I keep getting brought back to what my brother said. I keep getting brought back to the memories of you in the past. He's like, I can't get over it. And it makes sense, right? So Natsu's not in the wrong. And I feel like in that last scene, it's Natsu trying to have this conflicting emotion of looking like he feels guilty, but also realizing, nah, we got to do this. And so just like Endeavor's dream, he's saying, I want my family to be happy, but for them to be happy, I can't be there. I can't be in the picture and then be happy. And he's like, I'll stay. He's going to stay in that big old house, that giant house. Endeavor's going to stay there, and he's going to build them a house away from him. I don't know why Endeavor just doesn't do the opposite, where Endeavor just doesn't go and get a little house to himself and give them the big mansion. I don't know why, but then you think about it, all of the bad memories are really in that house. And if you're trying to get Ray, the mom, to move past all that trauma, having her live in the same house where all that went down doesn't make a lot of sense. That wouldn't work. So while it may seem from a logistical standpoint, why would you build a house for 4 people when you have a giant house here and you're just gonna leave it for one person? Logistically, it makes sense, but it's understandable that he doesn't want them to have to live there, because that's not fair, and it's going to bring back a whole host of emotions that he doesn't want Ray to have to suffer through. So I get it. But there's a lot of spoilery things in here, so I'm just going to sift past those. Ending as a villain is kind of like the Catcher in the Rye stalker creeper villain, that he's just obsessed with Endeavor, and it's really disturbing and weird. But I like in the episode how Ending frames Endeavor as a ray of fiery hope. Like, that is a twisted view of hope. Like, he's like, I wanted to end my life, and you were my hope to do that. So we've talked about Endeavor, of what he's a symbol of, and my whole theory was Endeavor is a symbol of hope. It's not a symbol of peace like All Might, but he's a symbol of hope, because it fits his character. Like, he's trying to atone and make amends, so there's hope for him that he can build some type of relationship with his family. Like, that's the hope, right? And for Ending, he's like, I saw you as a big, fiery, arrogant beacon, and I want you to, like, that's the ruling. He's like, heroes can't kill people, you always turn us in. So he's like, I want you to go against it. He wants him to be Batman. He wants to take Batman and make him pull a Joker and not adhere to that one rule he has. And in the end, it works out that he doesn't have to. But Ending's whole spiel about Endeavor and what that fire represents is interesting, because fire can be a symbol for growth and a symbol for desire and hope and things like that, but can also be a symbol of destruction. So I like that at the end of the episode, Endeavor's reflecting on that, and he's like, I'm kind of a symbol of darkness too. So it's interesting. And we get to see Endeavor in the past, and what a contrast. Like, the contrast of him being so consumed by wanting to surpass All Might. Like, he's even guessing what others are thinking about him. Like, there's such a paranoia there. He's like, oh, well, you thought that I got here 30 minutes after All Might would. And the guy's like, oh, no, I didn't think that. And so you can just see how much paranoia and how twisted his mindset is because of All Might being the number one hero. And I think that's another reason why Endeavor's told Bakugo, look at Endeavor now. Now that Endeavor's the number one hero, and there's not that obsessive obstacle, and he has more time to reflect on his actions, Endeavor's much different than he was in the past. And Ending brings up a good point. He's like, you did kill the Nomu. He's like, what's stopping you from killing me? He's like, I'm just as much of a puppet as he is. So there's a lot of interesting concepts here being thrown around, and they're ones that are kind of prevalent in My Hero Academia. The idea of heroes versus villains, what makes people heroes, what makes people villains. In Endeavor's case, even though he's the number one hero, his personal life, he very much is a villain. And so it's so interesting to kind of examine that complex relationship and see how those characters kind of view each other within this little world. Bakugo continues to be a cinnamon bun, a perfect saint. I honestly, my favorite parts of this episode, I like that Fuyumi bringing up Toya, and that my father, Natsu, blames Toya's death for Endeavor. And I like that Bakugo and Deku kind of soak it all in. And Shoto's right. He's like, why would I bring this up? It's not exactly a conversation starter, you know? But I love that Bakugo can't nicely ask for anything. He's like, send me your Mapo tofu recipe whenever you can. Blah. He's so like tsundere, and he's like, I don't want to admit that I really like that Mapo tofu, but just send me the recipe. And then Shoto's like, I'll text it to you. And then Fuyumi being like, thank you for being Shoto's friend. And I love that Bakugo's in the car like, I didn't get thanked for being Shoto's friend. Even though Bakugo's denied it, it's like, you know that you're Shoto's friend, you just don't want to admit it. It's so wonderful. And then when Deku's always called Shoto Todoroki-kun, but then when they throw him the briefcases, because Shoto is his hero name, he says Shoto-kun. But it's like double-sided. Shoto is his hero name, so of course he says Shoto-kun because they're in public and they're doing a hero mission. But also it's like, that's also his first name. And so it's like, it's so warm and fuzzy. But I love the idea, each of the three of them representing a different way to save someone. That's what's really cool. So you have Deku that saves he saves by, he saves the people and stops the collateral damage, right? You have Shoto who catches the villain, and you have Bakugo who saves the person. So it's winning by saving, saving by winning. Like each of them represent a different aspect that Endeavor was talking about on how you save people. And I love that they get to put that in action and embody that in the moment. Like that's such a cool part of the episode. And it was so intense. Like the animation on Endeavor's face, like Endeavor just looking completely heartbroken. And this isn't a spoiler, but in the manga, we don't actually get to see Natsu on the phone with who we are presuming is his girlfriend. So that was a cool little addition to the anime. The driver of their car being just as fiery as Bakugo. I love it. And I love that Deku's like, oh, Shoto, will you teach me English? And he's like, oh, sure. And Bakugo's like, enough of this chummy business. Get me out of this car. But yeah, Endeavor's weakness. Every hero has a weakness, and Endeavor's are his children. Ironically, for all the messed up stuff Endeavor's done with his kids and his family, his weakness is his family. And that's a problem moving forward, right? That's a problem because if your only weakness is the loved ones around you, then who's to say other people like Ending aren't going to come around? That's problematic. But I like that Deku and Shoto and Bakugo get to show off what they've learned in a week. And Endeavor's so amazed at what they've learned. And they're able to stop Ending and save him. And I love that Endeavor just instantly rushes forward to catch Natsu and Bakugo in a hug. Like, he's just so happy that they're safe. And all Bakugo's like, no hugs! And, like, gets out of there. You smell like an old man. But, oh, God, the way they animated Endeavor in this episode was so damn good. And, yeah, and Bakugo's trying to gloat. He's like, I was faster than you for once. Ha, ha, ha. And it's like, joke's on you, Bakugo. This is not the time or place. This is a serious moment. So, again, not really a spoiler, but in the manga, the scene where Endeavor and Natsu are talking is actually on a sidewalk. It's not in the middle of a road. So there are cars passing by, and in the manga, there's actually somebody in a car looking over like, what the heck? Like, why is the number one hero and this boy having a conversation? But I laughed out loud in the anime. My reaction was just because the people behind there are honking like, get out of the road! Quit having a heart-to-heart! We gotta get to McDonald's! Like just... It cracked me up because I was like, oh my God, that wasn't in the manga, so that was great. That was a little levity for that situation. But, I mean, Natsu being justified, he's like, Endeavor, you can change all you want. He's like, but why do I have to be the one to change my mind? Why do I have to be the one to accept you? Like, why do I have to change and accept you in my life when I don't want to? And I think that's when Endeavor's like, yeah, you shouldn't have to forgive me. And that whole conversation between him and Endeavor was so well done. And it was so sad. It's like, just cuts to the core of you. And poor Deku's just sitting there like looking like, oh, like Deku's like, I want to hug you all. And Natsu, baby, just wanting to have a hug. Natsu just needs some love in his life because you can tell he's clearly been very affected by Endeavor. And what's funny is you think that Shoto's the one that's been affected the most because he's the one being drugged around by Endeavor that's had to endure the physical abuse from Endeavor's actions. But then you think about Natsu and Fuyumi being ignored by Endeavor all of those years. That Endeavor was so hyper-focused on Shoto all those years that the other Todoroki children were ignored. Like, it was just, forget you all, your failed experiments, as Natsu calls himself and his sister. And so that really takes a toll when your parent completely neglects you. And so Natsu's like, I can't just forgive you. No way. You can't just do that. And so it makes sense and it's reasonable. And at the end of the day, no one's wrong in this scenario. Endeavor is right to want to move forward and atone but Natsu and Shoto and Fumi are all right in their convictions that we can or can't forgive you, but it's not your choice, it's ours. And so I love that. I love that Endeavor's solution is, yeah, you guys need to go on and be happy. I just can't be with you. So, oh my god, there's a panel here of Bakugo just looking feral as Deku's asking him his hero name. Because they ask him, like, what's your hero name? And Deku instantly chimes in like, oh, it's Bakugo, right? And he's like, wrong. And then he's like, oh, you chose a hero name? Tell me. And then I love the image of Bakugo being like, I'll never tell you, drop dead. And Shoto's like, well, tell me. He's like, no. And then it's like, I've got to show Best Jeanist first. He doesn't say it's Best Jeanist, but we all know it's his mentor. It's Best Jeanist. We all know it is. I mean, it has to be, right? Right. Which Best Jeanist is missing, so that's problematic. But yeah, the whole Todoroki storyline is one of my favorites in the manga because Horikoshi really... you don't see it a lot in superhero stories, or at least the ones I've read. You don't see a lot of super complex, like when you have a superhero that has a really, really jaded home life. And what do they do? Like, how do they resolve it? So I really like the Todoroki story and that whole family drama. Like, it's great. But yeah. Yeah, so I have a ton of spoilers to talk about. But I'm not going to do that yet. So I hope you enjoyed this reaction. If you have any comments about the episode, please feel free to comment down below. But next week, there won't be an episode. It's taken off next week. It's going to come back the week after next. So I'll probably try to record something, a project I've wanted to work on that I've had. You know, I have a bunch of little side projects listed, so I'll probably try to do a couple of those next week instead and just get those out. And in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll talk to y'all again real soon. Ah! Why? What is happening? I didn't mean to freak out in that preview. Why are we getting Shirakumo now? Why? Yeah, we're gonna have to definitely tag spoilers if you're gonna comment on the spoilers, because I just, we only have episode 19 is next. So we have 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. We have 7 episodes left, right? We haven't touched My Villain Academia at all. At all. I was convinced that by the halfway point in this series, we would be getting into My Villain Academia and it would take up the rest of the semester and we would maybe get to the storyline this season, maybe not. But now we've not only got this, which I get why they put it here. I get it. It ties into the Endeavor Agency. In the manga, the Endeavor Agency is split apart into different sections. And so I get they want to condense it and put it all together for consistency's sake and fluency. I get it. But Shirakumo, they've teased it this season. But why are we doing this story now? I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be really disappointed if next episode they don't go into any of the Vigilante storyline. I'm really going to be disappointed because, yeah, you don't need it to get that Aizawa and Present Mike had a big relationship with Shirakumo. And Midnight, too. Midnight's in that thing as well. And you almost need to... I hope they mention Midnight as part of this because that's a whole big storyline. In the series Vigilantes, which is a spin-off series to My Hero Academia, there is a whole side story about Aizawa's backstory and his relationship with Shirakumo. And Shirakumo is like one of their fellow students when they were at My Hero Academia at UA. And Midnight's a year older than them, but they were all friends. Present Mike, Midnight, Aizawa, and Shirakumo. And during a training mission, Shirakumo dies. And so they send in Aizawa, and that's in the Vigilante storyline. It's a big side story, but it really got me on board. It's one of the reasons why Aizawa is one of my favorite characters. If they don't show that backstory in the next episode, it's going to be a long-ass spoiler review, because I'm going to have lots of things to post in here, because how could you leave that out? I hope that they don't leave it out. I hope they at least maybe throw in some Easter eggs or do some mentions, because in the manga, I think there's some tie-ins to the Vigilante storyline, but the side story in Vigilantes is so damn good. It's so good. If they don't include it in the next episode, they need to make an OVA or something at the end of the season to go with it, because it's so good, and I'm going to be so disappointed if they don't include that. But here's the thing. After the Shirakumo storyline, then it pretty much goes straight into the war arc. So the only thing I can think of is that at the very end of the Shirakumo storyline, it shows Shigaraki getting operated on by the doctor. And I'm wondering if that's how we're connecting back. If they're going to show us Shigaraki getting operated on, and in the last 6 episodes are going to be My Villain Academia. Because they've previewed all of these people in the Meta Liberation Army. They're not just going to not show us. So I'm thinking maybe the last 6 episodes are going to be My Villain Academia. But that's... I mean, this episode covered chapters 250, 251, and 252, which, along with chapter 249, was a nice, succinct... They could have fit it all in one episode. I really think they could have. Because there was a lot of recap between this episode and the last. They could have fit it all in one episode, but they didn't. And I get why they didn't. It's for dramatic effect. You want to feel for Endeavor and for Shoto and Natsu and Fuyumi. I get why they did it, but they could have squeezed it all if they wanted to. But we still have, there's a big old gap between chapters 220 and 241. So there's like a good 30 chapter chunk there that if they're going to try to do it in 6 episodes, I mean, it's doable, but I don't want them to rush anything. So it feels like to me they're trying to wrap up every little side story to get to the war arc starting next episode. So start next season with Twice and Hawks and going into the war arc. Like, that's what it seems like they're wanting to do. They want to wrap up all the little side stories so they can just jump right in. And I get that, but you could have condensed so much of the Class 1A versus Class 1B, and you could have condensed a little bit here with the last episode. I'm afraid that with 6 episodes, they're going to rush a lot, right? And they may do half of next episode focusing on the Shirakumo thing, but I have a feeling it's going to be the whole episode, and they're going to end next episode with the Shigaraki getting operated on, and then My Villain Academia is going to be the last 6 episodes. I get that. And a lot of people have said that in the overhaul arc, they're doing like 4 or 5 chapters at a time because it's all this action, and I can see them doing it, but I want the Sad Man's Parade. I want Shigaraki's backstory. I want Getten versus Dabi. I want Toga's enhancement of her abilities. Like, all this stuff. And I want Redestro. I've waited for Redestro this whole damn season because I love Redestro, and he's just not been in it yet. So where is he? There's so much I'm looking forward to, and I have a feeling they're going to rush or condense a lot of it, and that's really sad because the My Villain Academia arc is so damn good. And I've heard that people in Japan don't like it as much either, but damn it! It's so good. So my only hope is that they're tying up all the loose ends with Shirakumo next episode. Next episode is going to be rough because, I love the Shirakumo reveal. It's so damn good. But I have a feeling we're going to be talking a lot about Vigilantes next episode too, if they don't show us that as well. So it may be a long episode, next reaction. It may be pretty long, just to gear yourselves up. But then my hope is that they're wrapping up all the loose threads, and then the next 6 episodes left will do My Villain, and we'll end with Shigaraki, his army, going into... Because they could do that. They could start season 6 with the introduction of each of the different factions and everything. Like, that would make sense. I'm like, Bones, don't screw this up. The last 2 episodes have been really good, and I've liked this season. If I was anime only, I would really like this season. It'd be like, oh yeah, this season's awesome. As a manga reader, this season has stressed me out a lot because there's so much in the manga that I love that I'm like, don't freaking rush this. But I guess that's why the manga exists, right? Right. There is a couple of things that are really worth noting that are spoilers in this. One that I, like, right off the bat, I was trying not to react in the moment because I was like, but Takumi it shows them apprehending Takumi, and he is the thief with the red hair that's walking away. I'm glad the anime's confirmed what color his hair is. And I think that's important because Takumi is Hawks' father. Takumi is the thief, and he's Hawks' father, and he has feathers that come out of him. And in the manga, we've not seen the color of his hair, but it's red, which kind of makes sense because him and Hawks look different enough that nobody makes the connection. But Takumi is the thief that Endeavor captures, and that's Hawks' father. And so we get more on Hawks' backstory later on. But I'm glad that we have that little tie-in right now. That's a cool little seed to plant, to be like, yeah, later on we're going to find out more about Hawks and his backstory. And yeah, there's a lot at work here. So, interesting. Aside from that, and the Best Genus thing, which was handled really, really well. I really liked this episode. That was great. This episode was really, really good, but I'm just worried about the pacing of the last 7 episodes because there's a lot of ground to cover and not a lot of time to do it. So, but yeah, oh man, y'all, this is a really good episode. I'm very trepidatious going forward, what we're going to be doing, but we've got an extra week to kind of think about it. I wonder if they took that extra week off because they've got some really good animation with the Shigaraki arc planned. Fingers crossed, that would be awesome, but we shall see, won't we? So, yeah, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. If you have any spoilers, please tag them for me, because I know a lot of people that watch this video are anime only. But I'm really excited for next episode because Chirakumo's storyline is like, it's going to tug at my heartstrings, but I want them to give it the due diligence that it deserves. And I'm afraid they're not going to. They're going to rush through it, and it needs that vigilante storyline to really soak in. So I may have a lot to talk about in the discussion next week. So we shall see. But yeah, anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back next week or the week after next, with episode 19 of My Hero Academia Season 5. Bye.